What's up, everybody? It's Crypto Oki. Let's go. All right, let's just break down the whole Litecoin action. I'm still figuring out how to best look at these charts. But so here's Litecoin on a daily scale. We have this kind of descending wedge that I'm seeing here that dates back the lows April 25. So it's a year ago. Let's see how many days that is exactly. So that's 463 days. So about 15 months. And then the high is that October 10th liquidation day, which is coming about 275. So which comes about 9 months. So we're coming into that wedge, 200 day clearly below. So I don't think, the safer play is to wait for this trend line to break and hope that and if that happens, I mean, you only hope, but this will kind of shallow out. I guess two things: either we can break the 200, but even better would be if just the slope kind of turns up, or turns flat, because this is fairly steep. But the longer we go and stay above, it'll flatten out a lot. But also, we do need to get up relatively soon, in the next couple weeks, I think. I mean, could this little pullback over the weekend, could we touch this one more time? I think that'd be fine. And especially if we get a strong rebound off it, I think that'd be fine. It'd be pretty scary, which is why I think, waiting to break this $47 area is probably the safer bet. Or just a little bit shallower, hold this $40 and a little bit shallower, create a little inverse head and shoulders, break this, break that, going into fall, and hopefully off to the races. I mean, that's the idea. That's the hope. And just a possible, which I don't think it's that strong. Let me change this to 20 weeks. I like the 20 week and the 200 day, but not that matters too much. But we could be seeing a Wyckoff accumulation on a huge scale here, and this being the spring right here. But we need to get up relatively soon. So, here we have it. It'll be one of the longest ever, but I mean, that's the idea. So hopefully that happens, and that would make the spring all the more strong. I mean, it would make more sense that it has a wedge springing up. So I mean, anything lower, it needs to get up right away. We cannot close any weeks below this $40 anymore. Just can't do it. Just can't do it. So again, there's the wedge. Nothing really changing. And I mean, I guess on the bright side, even though we didn't get up high, I mean, we haven't dumped yet like crazy. Just seems like the dumping has been less when it is. So let me just go back to the weekly real quick, see where that moving average is. So yeah, I mean, it's similar. We want this to round up, break higher. So let's go back to that. So anyway, there's the last look there at that wedge. And again, I think if we break this, we're going back to the 120, 140 range, and then I see us breaking higher, um, and that really kicking off uh, something really special. Hopefully, I mean, again, I don't think the smart move is not to enter, in this level. It's enter higher, but I think it could easily 10x in the next year, towards the $400, possibly 800. I don't know, um, range. I mean, we know crypto's done that in the past. I mean, from the COVID lows, $25 to 400. I mean, was that a 20x ish give? And yeah, I guess, I mean, because if we get up to this line again, we'll be breaking some symmetrical triangles, and then I think a retest of this 400 would be fine. And then I don't think it holds it, and I think we're going higher. So we'll see. I mean, we have to have these dominoes to start falling first. So that's with the assumption this breaks higher, breaking the 200, it rounds over. We get another crypto bull market a little faster than normal, and so that's what would have to happen. And then looking at the pairs, and all these dominoes would have to fall. I mean, that's under the assumption, of course, is a probability game, but that's what I'm assuming happens. All right, so let's look at the Litecoin Bitcoin chart. Again, it wasn't, last week we are up towards the top of it. Now we're right in the middle. Of course, we could test lower if everything kind of goes down this week. Would not be surprised, especially because I mean we have almost like 6 days on the low here. I would expect a little lower. I don't know where we'd catch, or if we go even make a new low, that would be fine. But again, we're also at risk of dumping these charts too, right? I mean, we're coming into the apex of all three or four of them, so something's got to happen. We don't have, you know, time's not necessary. Time's on our side that the decision's going to happen, but it's not. It's not on our side if it takes forever. So there's Litecoin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, ETH. Had to kind of move the chart, move the bottom trend line, to kind of account for what happened this weekend. We're at the bottom. We really can't go lower, or else this turns over, which then the play is Ethereum. So I think I just, for given this, we're in a bear market, I think the lesser, you know, altcoins are very risky, very hard to play. There's some going off, but it's just, it's like a 1 or 2% chance you get those. So if you can, what you're doing, you can do that. But I think the safer play is to get some of these older coins, ETH, Bitcoin, depending on what happens, of course. But if this dumps over, and we'll look at the ETH Bitcoin chart later, if this dumps over, the ETH Bitcoin chart rises, I think that's the play. I'm really focused on really one of these two coins, just because we're in a bear market. It's not worth it to take too many risks, I think, unless you have, that's just my opinion. I don't know, but I still think because you can get a lot of reward um, out of some of these because we're in a bear market, right? I mean, you can get into ETH. This isn't, you can get into ETH and easily get a 2x, and then probably a 3 or 4x, and being in Ethereum, the second biggest crypto that's been there for a decade as the second biggest crypto. You know what I mean? You get a 4 or 5x. Why, risk some of the other tokens? But that's just my thought. And I like where we're sitting at with ETH. But all right, going back to that Litecoin ETH chart, and we have this double bottom. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. I like that we have held so far. But I don't like that we created a new low, closing low yesterday, dating back to May. So that's 2 months. So, you know, I do think right now, um, ETH is the play. If you're sitting in something, I think why not it be ETH? Um, so there's that. But again, hopefully we break higher, or we just go back, touch the top of this trend line. You know, at some point in August, September, this is going to come to a conclusion. I hope, and I hope it's upward. Litecoin XRP. I kind of changed this to a ascending triangle. Um, I think that fits a little better. And I almost think it fits better on a weekly scale. So yeah, we want to get above the 41 and a half, 42 level. And this kind of looks like the strongest one. So we have a ascending triangle, Litecoin XRP. We have a symmetrical triangle on the LTC ETH. At the lower bound, or at the higher bound on the LTC XRP. And then the LTC BTC, we have a descending wedge right in the middle. So that's what I'm seeing. And it's just funny every time it gets to one of the, the upper band of XRP, it kind of slows down a little bit. And on the flip side, when the LTC ETH got to the bottom, it's kind of slowing down here. So we're just in that range where we sit tight, but get ready. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking. Um, so that's kind of what I got on Litecoin. Again, just kind of monitoring those charts. There's nothing much to do, and there probably won't be much to do, um, this week or maybe next week. But you never know, because this one, I mean, we're not going to go straight up. But it'll take, this one would take at least a week. Would be my guess to get to the top of this, if that happens. Um, Litecoin, Bitcoin, this could happen in a few days, of course, but also we got this, we're got more pressure downside, so I don't think it's going to go up quick, but we could break, create some sort of a head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, or even we kind of got like a little bit of a diamond, not really, but an interesting kind of pattern here, possibly forming with the 200. So I could see it going up to this 0.0074 range as the 200 flattens out, and then going up higher, as hopefully the Litecoin ETH chart would be getting towards that upper band, and we would be also breaking higher on this chart on the LTC XRP. So, I think kind of just following these four charts, seeing what happens is a good idea. And likewise with this chart, I mean, I'd be surprised if we go up if we don't have a little bit lower coming this week, whether that be, below 40 or, 42. Yeah, I would, I think we hit the 42 to 40 range, possibly lower, 39. Um, but again, we want to see that it's the bounce that I think is going to be the most telling. Um, yeah, I kind of want to see a little bit lower, and possibly, we can have a wick down to 37 or whatever. I really want to get a bounce off that, and that's going to be telling. This will be lower. This trend line will be lower, but so yeah, especially if it happens this week, we don't want it to happen like, we don't want it to go sideways this week and then dump next week. I think that would be tough, but I think a dump this week with a huge rally end of week or next week, something like that would be would be pretty interesting there. So something like, let me see if I can just draw it. There's an arrow. It's in text. And then a strong bounce, into it. Followed by maybe a shorter, or just going up, hitting that 200. Yeah, I would almost just take this out. Let me see. Bounce. Yeah, I want to see something like this. Dump this week, somewhere. I don't know. Huge rebound, really strong rebound, breaking this line, possibly going into the 200, hitting that, being rejected by that, slightly retesting the 45, and then finding strength off that. That's, something like that would be what we want to see. And then if we're looking at these charts, I mean, also, what could happen. I mean, I'd love for that to hold. Who knows what we could see. And we have so many touches right here. Maybe I don't want to see this one go that much lower, but maybe something like this. Breaking it to the 200, or maybe even higher. Up into this area. Actually, that would make sense. We could be kind of this horizontal resistance and the 200, before a little pullback and then going higher. So that'd be nice. See, this one's going to take a little higher, a little more, but again, same principle. But the 200's flat, so it could go up pretty quickly. But during this same time, something like this, support on the 200. But these timelines would all pretty much match up. That's the idea. And then here, I mean, we could probably just stay at the top. Go sideways sideways to maybe touching the 200. Or maybe we do something like this. And then just a direct breakout. I mean, that's the thought. Of course, it's a probability game, and we need to wait for those things to happen. But if these things happen, I mean, that's the play. Litecoin. Nobody's going to be on sides for that. Nobody's going to want that. Nobody wants Litecoin to do that. That's why I love it. Nobody wanted XRP to break out in 2024. Nobody wanted it. That's what happened. Nobody wants to see Litecoin beat everything else, beat XRP, beat ETH, beat Bitcoin. No one wants to see that. All right, let's switch gears to Ethereum, since I do think it's currently the strongest of the bunch for the most part. We have a similar structure as Litecoin here. Descending wedge, kind of closer to the top. Again, I think we'll come down a little from these levels. So we'll see there. And then, of course, we have the ETH Bitcoin chart, which is at a great level. We have this kind of head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders. We have I'm going to delete this one. We have the downward sloping channel from Is it from October as well? That's from August. After summer, that's right. The summer high. Tom Lee. So almost a year downward channel. I like this. We're at the top of the channel. We're at this horizontal resistance where the 200 should be flattening out. And again, if that's why I think ETH is the play. If this breaks higher, and then the Litecoin ETH chart breaks down, if this, on the, so that's what I'm thinking is, you're just looking at really your focus is on Litecoin ETH and Litecoin or ETH BTC. If this goes down, I think like Ethereum's the play, and especially if it goes with this going higher. If this goes higher, I think we're definitely hitting that level. We'll create a higher low, um, probably something like this. So I'm pretty bullish on crypto here. I mean, not imminent, but I think these are good levels, especially for like um, spot, spot, spot ETH here is a pretty good play in my opinion. I think Eric Trump tweeted it though, so watch out. But that weekly, pretty, it's magnetic and then it's repulsive. So I think we test it again. We test it again in the summer, test it again. I would think it holds again before it would need a little bit, hug it and then break it higher. So yeah, I like something like that happening. Let's check the weekly here. Wow, right at that level too. So I think we got an inside bar yesterday. We're just starting this week, but I always like the 20-week on ETH. I haven't necessarily used it a lot on the ETH Bitcoin, but it looks pretty good here. I mean, that's pretty clean. Look at this break below. It kept you out, and it's kind of flattening out. So yeah, I think ETH and Litecoin are the coins to watch for the most part of the big ones. I'm just not getting into the shit coins too much at this point. We're in a bear market. It's not, that's where some big money can be made, but it's just not worth it in my opinion right now. Let's look at the weekly on the ETH. Okay, we're flattening out a little bit on this 20. Again, I love the 20. Sometimes you can toggle with the 21. Just a tad different. But I mean, if you look at it here, I mean, it took you out, at 3,600, and it's kept you out, even though it touches sometimes. It's kept you out and safe on a 50% correction. So that's something I always pay attention with ETH. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. So the hope is, of course, Litecoin catches a bid, ETH breaks out against Bitcoin, and some of these dominoes start to fall, and we have alt season finally. Look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. And again, I think this rolls over. So let's see if we get below 58, 57% on this chart. I think this rolls over. So, all right. There you have it. Litecoin for the win. Morphine. All right.